Welcome to Elmhurst, our community. I'm Ken Bartels, your host, and today on EOC, I can truly say I have a guest that needs absolutely no introduction. Because today, in a pre-holiday interview, I have Santa Claus. Santa, welcome to Elmhurst, our community. I'm delighted you could find time in what has to be an amazingly busy period for you, just ahead of the holidays, to join me.
I really appreciate you inviting me down, Ken. It is our busy time, but I've got plenty of time for you.
Well, I thank you very much, Santa, and I want to start out with saying I didn't tell a great many people about this interview because I didn't want the place to be jammed. But I did ask a few folks to come up with some questions that if they had the opportunity that I'm having,
Sure.
What would they ask? And so this is a compilation of a number of people here at the Community Bank of Elmhurst who had some questions that they thought would be interesting to get answers for.
Okay.
So we're just going to start with the first one. Why a red suit?
Well, actually, I've worn other colors before.
Really?
As a matter of fact, it depends on the country that I'm going to. I sometimes change out of the red. Like if I were going to Ireland, I'd probably wear a green coat. If I'm in Russia, possibly a white one. So I've worn a lot of different colors, but it was back in the 19th century when the red coat really became the dominant coat that I wear. And it's based on the fact that Nast, who was a artist at the time for a number of magazines and so forth, drew me. And when he was able to draw me in color, he used red. But also, Hayden Sundblom was an artist in the early part of the 20th century, and he drew a picture of me for the Coca-Cola Company. And based on that, this is pretty much my iconic suit.
Absolutely, and it's a great red. That's a great outfit.
Thank you.
There were a few logistics questions that folks had, and the first one was is the delivery schedule for Christmas Eve. Is it north to south? Is it east to west? Is it continent by continent? Give us some insights.
Okay. Well, we start out in the afternoon on Christmas Eve, and we fly south to the South Pole. And then we kind of zigzag back and forth, south to north, but all the time going west. And that helps with the time zones and allows me to have enough time to reach everybody and make all the rounds. And so I finally end up at the international date line, and Hawaii's one of the ones that we get to pretty late.
Okay.
So.
Well, that's really interesting because obviously you have to take into account the time and this kind of thing, which once again, in terms of the distances and everywhere you have to go, the question was 8 reindeer. And I could sing the ditty for you with all the names, but that's not important. Why 8? Wouldn't 10 get you there quicker? And I know on foggy nights, Rudolph is 9, but most of the time it's 8.
Actually, I've tried more reindeer.
Really?
I've even tried, we've tried horses, we've tried goats, actually. But we've tried to have more than 8 reindeer. But I'll tell you, it's really difficult because we have to train them in pairs. You know, you've got Dancer and Dasher and Prancer and Vixen and Comet and Cupid and Donner and Blitzen. And it's not really Donner, it's Donder. Donder is a German word for thunder.
Thunder, yep.
And Blitzen is lightning. But that's how we do it. We then get those pairs to work together, kind of like a football team. And they all got to pull you know, they all got special jobs that they've got to do. And finally we found out that the 4 couples seemed to work best for us. So, and then, of course, you know, the most famous reindeer of all, Rudolph, he's got a shiny nose, and he helps us once in a while when we got really foggy nights. We put him up in front, and he helps us around then.
Absolutely. Well, that story is extremely well known, and of course, Gene Autry sings the song and the whole 9 yards. And of course, the Christmas radio station here in Chicago has already started.
Oh,
so
yeah.
we're geared up. We're moving on. I want to ask you about the infamous naughty and nice list. Over the years, percentage-wise, higher percentage, I would think, of nice over naughty, but I mean, has it varied over the decades?
Yeah, I really don't keep any tallies on how many naughties, how many nices, but I got to tell you, there's more nice than there are naughties. And I think that's a credit to their parents. But other than that, I really don't keep any records that
And of course,
way.
that naughty and nice thing extends beyond the kids, though. So, I mean, I don't know if you keep score for the adults.
Oh yeah, we do that too.
So, when you're traveling all over the world, I guess, but we'll keep it local. When you get near the Chicago area, do you need to get clearance from the air traffic controllers at O'Hare and Midway?
Once in a while, but as far as navigating, Prancer is our navigator. We've had her on the team, and she's kind of clumsy, but she's very good at navigating. And she can get us through the cities, through the woods, through long stretches of country. She's very good at that.
Okay.
And I have GPS in the sleigh, but I don't need it if I've got Prancer with me, unless she's sick. But other than that,
So does Santa have a cell phone?
he does.
Unlisted number, though.
We try to keep it that way, because you can imagine if everybody had my
yeah.
number, I'd never get anything done. I'd be on the phone all the time.
I want to know, does the sleigh have heat?
It does not have a heater per se. A couple of years back, I did put in a heated seat, and I also have a large, heavy blanket that I can put over my legs if it's really, really cold out. But since it's a convertible, really can't contain the heat. So.
Absolutely. Do you take the sleigh out other times of the year and the reindeer and exercise and just make sure everything's the way it's supposed to be? I mean, obviously you wouldn't announce it, but
Yeah, we train, and sometimes we have to switch out reindeer. You know, we have tryouts also every year, so that's not always the same reindeer. Pretty much it is, but not all the time. And we've got to train them with the sleigh, so we do take it out once in a while.
so what's the most unusual gift you've ever delivered?
Well, once I had a youngster ask me for jelly. And I said, jelly? What kind of jelly? And he said he didn't know. So I brought him all different types of jellies, all different flavors, kind of like the Jelly of the Month Club, but all in December. And that's probably the strangest thing I've ever had asked
Jelly.
for.
Well, why not, right?
Right.
If that's what they want for Christmas,
Right.
why not?
Why not?
Why not? Given that you're the real Santa, and given that we acknowledge that there's obviously all sorts of folks working as you across the globe, how do you feel about that?
Actually, I'm really good with it. I've got to have help, and we've got Santas, and they vary in their expertise. I mean, you have some that are just starting out. They need a lot of training. And the ones that are a little bit more advanced, they help out the ones that are starting out. And of course, then you have the elite Santas, and those are the ones that they're kind of distinguished, and they're the top of the list as far as helpers go. And they could pretty much answer any questions that Santa knows the answers to.
And like all professions, if their heart's in the right place, what is that line? If you love what you're doing, you'll never work a day in your life. I
Right.
would guess if you're a Santa Claus, that would have to be your mindset, I would believe.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, who wouldn't want to be Santa?
Absolutely, to coin your phrase. Before we go to break, one last quick question is, how often do you have to trim your beard? Do you have a preferred length? Is this the preferred length?
Pretty much so. I get it trimmed about every couple of months, but sometimes if I'm rushing it and I see cookie crumbs coming out, I know it's getting a little too thick and too long, so I go in and get it trimmed then.
That would be a problem. We're
Yeah.
going to talk about that cookie thing when we come back from break. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. I have another list of questions for Santa, and I think you'll enjoy it. This is Elmhurst, our community. The Community Bank of Elmhurst Business Zone has modern co-working space and a conference room free for our business customers. Visit the zone today at communityelmhurst.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. Welcome back to Elmhurst, our community. I'm Ken Bartels, and I get to talk to Santa Claus today, which is a rare privilege and something that's already been a lot of fun. I was going to say, Santa, you probably weren't in the area, but we had a Halloween that included our first dose of snow, which I know you're fond of snow. Not everyone is, but I actually had 2 people come to my house trick-or-treating as you.
Really?
Which had never happened before. I think they were inspired by the snow and they went in the closet. And as I said before, so many people work as you during the season. But,
Right.
So how many elves currently are working away?
Thousands, really thousands. You can imagine all the toys that have to be made. I mean, there are billions of kids in the world. And if I only got to deliver like one toy to each child, that would be a lot of toys to have to make. And so I've got elves working around the clock. Unfortunately, they don't do it all year long. And I can tell you a little bit more about that later.
Okay. Once again, a logistical question that has to do with, do you ever find yourself in need of FedEx or Amazon or anybody to help you out a little bit on where things need to be when?
Yeah, we do use them on occasion, and I also have some of our toys are licensed to other companies like Hasbro and Mattel and Parker Brothers and so forth. So they help out that way.
So you've been portrayed many, many times on the big screen, movies, television, whatever, but from a movie perspective, do you have a favorite Santa Claus movie, a favorite Christmas movie that features you?
I do. I love Elf. It's just a hilarious premise that you have a little orphan baby raised by an elf at the North Pole, and then as he grows up, the things that Buddy says and does are just hilarious, and I watch it a lot. It's my favorite.
Well, I'm a bit more traditional, I guess. I like the original Miracle on 34th Street because I love the notion that Santa Claus was proven to exist in a court of law. Not that we really needed that, of course. We talked about cookies just before we left the break, or you talked about cookies. I get the cookies and cocoa and stuff a lot, but do you have other treats that you'd like as kind of a change up? We can work that out.
Well, you can tell by looking at me, I like to eat, and but I like chocolate, especially dark chocolate, and I'm really fond of fudge. Two of my favorites.
Back in the day, there was some famous verse written that included you having a pipe, and my youngest grandson asked me if I could find out whether you've given that up. He was concerned about this.
You know, I have. Smoking's not good for you, and I have to be a role model for the children, and I prefer not to do that anymore, so I have given it up.
Okay. So you spend however long, you and the elves and Mrs. Claus and whatever, getting ready for Christmas, and it comes and you do your thing, and then it's over. So how long, two questions, how long before you have to gear up for the next Christmas, which in this case would be 2020. I can't believe it's 2020, Santa. And if you take a break, where does Santa Claus go on vacation?
Well, I tell you, the elves have to have a little rest afterwards. I mean, they're working really hard. As I told you, they don't work all year round. As a matter of fact, after the Christmas season, they hibernate for about 5 months. And then on June 1st, at 8 o'clock in the morning, I go and wake the first elf up. And his name is Golf. And Golf then has the job of waking all the other elves up. And one of the perks of having that job is he's the first to breakfast then. But yeah, a lot of people think that I spend my time off in the Hawaiian Islands or Mexico or the Riviera, kind of warm places like that. But I need to get away, you know, from the North Pole, and so I go to the South Pole.
Ah, okay. Well, okay. Yeah, that same kind of environment, but a different sunrise and sunset going
Right.
on. Okay. I want to ask a couple of things about Mrs. Claus. I know oftentimes the two of you are together at events and things during the holiday season. How involved is she in your work?
Oh, she's very involved in my work. She's a wonderful seamstress and a wonderful baker. Her favorite color is red, by the way, and she helps out a lot, especially when I'm talking to children. There's some that may be a little standoffish, and she's very good then at getting in there and getting them to warm up to me.
I did a little research, and I have to be honest with you, I couldn't find anywhere where it indicated her first name. Is that a privacy thing?
Not really. Her name is Anna, and
Okay.
yeah, and she.
I never knew that.
Yep. And we met in high school, and 3 years later we were married.
My goodness, that's pretty quick, Santa.
It is.
Moving pretty swiftly there. You know, that on the side of the nose thing, that works for a lot of things.
It does. It does.
Absolutely. I think the interesting thing about Santa Claus and what you've come to mean to the world is you're a spirit of Christmas. There's certainly all the appropriate religious parts of Christmas, and I know you acknowledge all of those. But the spirit of Christmas, you know, what does it really mean to you?
What it really means to me is bringing joy to children and adults during the season, and that's the true meaning, I think, of Christmas is being nice to everyone and having them also be nice, kind of pass it on, you know.
I was going to ask you what you were going to get Mrs. Claus for Christmas this year. And then I said, Mrs. Claus certainly watches YouTube. So if I ask you on camera what you're going to get her, she's going to watch it, she's going to know. So we're not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to ask, what do you want from Mrs. Claus?
Well,
Because I can help you out here.
actually, we both want the same thing. And after going through the holidays and you know, just bringing joy to everyone in that's our gift to each other. And so we don't have to keep it quiet at all.
Oh, okay. I'm glad I didn't get either one of us into trouble. You mentioned a little bit more information about the elves. You expand at all about how they have come to be so important in your work?
Well, it's been difficult to do the work up there without them. And when I first started working with the elves, we had a great time doing that.
Well, that's good. I think everybody's got to have a good time, I would think, working with Santa Claus.
Well, it's kind of like the Seven Dwarfs. You know, they whistle while they work, and they're happy all the time. So it's great to be an elf.
Those are my questions, Santa, and I really appreciate you coming to Elmhurst early. I know you'll be back on Christmas Eve, and we'll look forward to that. And I know you've got some other arrangements to be in the Chicago area as well. I wanted to give you one last opportunity to look directly into the camera and a Christmas message, an early Christmas message.
Well, what I would say is go to bed early and stay asleep. Don't try and wait up for me, because I've never been caught. So that's my message to everyone.
Santa, thank you so much. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Can we end with a legitimate ho, ho, ho?
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas.
It doesn't get any better than that, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching Elmhurst, Our Community, and we'll see you again. The Community Bank of Elmhurst Business Zone has modern co-working space and a conference room free for our business customers. Visit the zone today at communityelmhurst.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.